All right, hopefully my audio is okay. Get going. My mic's looking a little funky. How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to the playground. I'm Pixie Phoenix. I'm a full-time variety streamer here on Twitch. You're joining us tonight for Vampire the Masquerade, Philly by Night, session 4. Yeah. I'm joined tonight by Nox, our storyteller, Zach, who plays Vic. I'm Al, and we're waiting on our Martha. How are we doing out there, chat? How was your weekend? Your hopefully 3-day weekend? What are you up to? We got things you guys up to? Oh, I love demo work. I mean, I obviously can't do it anymore, but I used to at one point do demo work. Uh, and God help me, like the rage you can get out with a sledgehammer. Ugh, it's beautiful.
A little destructive when you're taking something apart with a reciprocating saw. Although there always seems to be right at the very end, like this part where it like clips off. And there's like always like half second where you're like, nope, I'm not in control of this. I'm about to lose my leg. It's like, son of a bitch.
I used to make stained glass windows in high school. And we used these big, like 2.5-foot diamond saws that we would use to cut the glass. So it would like spray water over the diamond saws, and then you'd rotate the glass around to like make the shapes and everything. And I didn't realize that it's the same exact saws they use for cutting tiles. So like once my dad was doing a tile installation, and we were installing tile, and I saw it was the exact same saws, and they're like, "Hey, you want to cut tile?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good at this. All right, I've done this before."
Yeah, this spa that we had in our basement when we bought when we bought the house, and like it hadn't been used in probably 10 years, and there was still old water in the pipes. Oh. Yeah, no, it was
Smelled like death.
Yeah, luckily it didn't smell all that bad, but the color of the water itself that came out was yeah, it was unclean.
Yep.
I swear she would.
So what are so off topic? When do you want to set up a time to do our one shot for the Wicked Ones?
Honestly, I literally just got Pixie
I know, and I explained my flub. I did just a lot on my plate in multiple different apps, and people were It's on me. It's being rectified today. Um, what do you think is? Do we want to play it as like the extended one shot, like we did before, that kind of time frame? Or are you talking about like something shorter?
If we're gonna do like if we were gonna do a one shot of it, it would have to be like I would prefer to keep it to like a max of like 4 or 5 hours, like maybe 2.5 hours on one end and 2.5 hours on the other, max. But I do definitely they were cool enough to send us copies of it to do something with. So I definitely want to put something together to do something with.
yeah, discussions in Discord. I'll get clarification from some people, and we'll put up a few dates and take everybody.
Cool, cool.
And we're always looking for new players. If you are an experienced role player, or even if you just got a couple of sessions under your belt, or you want to just try a new system, we are we have our thumbs in so many systems right now. It's insane. The one we're looking into is uh the Wicked Ones, which I'm guessing is still fairly new.
I'm not exactly sure how recent it is. They just recently had a Kickstarter for some additional stuff that they're doing. They released Wicked Ones from Bandit Camp. It looks like it was released last year, so it is from what I have read so far, it is Forged in the Dark. So if you have any experience with Blades in the Dark or Band of Blades, it's should be easy to pick up. It's definitely made and designed to be able to get into it pretty quickly.
And then we should maybe do session 0.
So in an ideal world, I guess what we could do is we would do the session 0, like kind of do all of it at once. So like do character creation, and then kind of go through all of that, and then get into it and kind of do our one shot right there. So that way everybody, there's kind of a full complete session there.
Yeah, it looks like it was a Kickstarter from like 2 years ago that got backed. So.
Been working on it. Been looking for. Honestly, it's been about all. I haven't been just laid out on the couch. It's been all the.
Get it?
No, but I mean, all good news on our side, at least as far as like, paperwork and getting approvals and everything. Like everything with the VA went through pretty quickly. It took about a week. Gosh, Alita. It took about a week for the VA approvals to go through. So everything went through on their end. We have the certificate of eligibility. So now we're just working with the lender and realtor to narrow down housing and, just getting something within our, but there's tons of stuff in our price range though. So it doesn't seem like we're going to have to like, pick between like 2 or 3 houses. Like we have a quite a few to pick from within our price range.
Well, one thing that,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say one thing that's definitely important. I would definitely, if when you guys can, take the time to come up here and actually check it out. It's one of those things where getting a feel for the town, because again, Harrisburg.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, Harrisburg's not very big. Like
it may or may not just be one of us coming up, because I don't know that all 3 of us can go up with Amara still in school and everything going on. So it may be me coming up for a weekend. Yeah, so it may be me coming up for a weekend, or maybe Alice coming up for a weekend. But definitely like one of us is going to be coming up for a weekend to start looking at some houses. And once we narrow things down, we're working with a realtor now. So once we can narrow things down, then we can start looking at a weekend that one of us can come up.
I've kind of branched into a couple other zip codes. And there are a couple of properties that would work. And, obviously the goal would be close to you and the amenities, schools and stuff like that. But, if we have to get in the car and drive a little.
Well, and that's one thing I will say, for a tiny city, and that's what it feels like. It feels like a tiny city. Public transportation is pretty plentiful here.
That's what
Like
it seems like. Every single house seems to be within a mile of a bus stop or something.
yeah, and that's. I mean, I literally have a bus stop in front of my house, which is nice. I mean, I have a vehicle, so I don't need it, but yeah, no, there's tons and tons of bus stops there, but the buses are always going around. There's tons and tons of walk places to walk. There's sidewalks everywhere, designated bike lanes everywhere. People are all over with their little electric scooters. So it's one of those things where you don't have to have a car here, which is kind of nice. I mean, it's always convenient. But getting even ponying up and getting like a little electric bike that has like a 50-mile radius on it, that'll get you around here just fine. And there's bike racks everywhere.
Exactly. We have an old car. It's
And
2008.
you would be surprised how many of the properties have a designated parking.
Yeah.
Whether it's like a driveway or at least like in the back. Somehow most of the housing, and I even found one property today that actually had a wheelchair ramp.
That'd be
already
awesome.
built onto the house. And I know that I'm not in my wheelchair now, but I have a degenerative disorder. So
Right.
Yeah, this
matter
car
of
that we have
time.
now is actually the first car that I've owned. Like, we've actually paid it off.
The only one we haven't wrecked before the fucking lease was up. Hello.
It's our lucky car. That's why I'm hesitant to get rid of it, because it's been so lucky.
That's one other thing we kind of talked about was, do we sell it, use money, see how transportation is there, and then decide to invest in another car, or just have it towed. We don't know what to do.
Probably. I'm leaning on getting it towed.
I'm not sure how many moving companies are going to tow your car for you.
We'll see.
I mean, here's what I would say to that.
Services. There are other services.
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways to get it up here. A lot of them are fairly expensive, but even that, like I said, once you're up here, you'll need the only real thing you'll need a car for if you're in Harrisburg proper is probably going to be to go to the grocery store.
That's usually about all we use the car for now anyway. Like, we really don't.
Groceries and doctor. That's it.
Groceries and doctor. That's about all we use the car for. Because I'm 100% remote. So I work from home, so it's not like I have to drive to work or anything like that. I work from home strictly.
Yep.
So yeah, our car is seldomly used. That's one of the reasons I'm tempted to bring it with, because just like it we don't use it very often. It's not, I don't want to pay for a new car. Like, once we get up there, I'd rather try and keep what we have going.
I mean, worst case scenario, you guys move up here and then somebody flies back to go get the car.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's the whole issue of us deciding to fly out, was that we can't really, neither of us can drive anyway.
Well, a drive as part of a move, no. If it were to be like a slowed down drive where I could slow down, it'd be like a 3 to 4 day drive, like just that may be an option, because I'm not being pushed by the move or having to get there. So it may be like coming back, like Knox said, coming back to get it, later on or something like that. That's an option. We'll look into that. That's not impossible.
I just wish there was like a comprehensive moving checklist.
Yeah. No.
If you own a car, do you want to take car? And it just broke everything down, because
my thing is I trust the car on short distances, but with it being
a long time since we've taken it on a road trip.
Yeah, it's been a very long time since we've done a road trip with it, and I would hate for the car to break down somewhere between here and Pennsylvania. I would kind of rather tow it or have it transported, And then if it breaks down in Pennsylvania, that's one thing. But
Yeah.
breaking down in the middle of the country between here and Pennsylvania is a totally different thing. So I'm leaning more on towing it or getting it transported, just because of how much miles is on it, and I don't know if I can trust it for a long country trip. But yeah, no, definitely things are in the works. So they're in motion.
Sweet.
So
Time to take.
train. Is there a train that goes from here to Pennsylvania? An Amtrak?
I think there's like through.
That's a long. I don't know. Oh, you're talking about for the move?
Well, that or if we were both able to house hunting.
For the actual move, I have a feeling that's going to have to be rather quick, just because the cats are involved. Yeah,
we're gonna have to just out.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're going to have to fly out or transport out with the cats, or have the cats fly. I'm not sure what the exact thing will be yet, but yeah, getting pets out there is going to be a definite priority.
Still have not heard from Martha just yet.
One thing I'm hoping that our filter can somehow line up all the viewing in 1 or 2 days.
I'm sure they can.
And then if Zach's the one to fly out,
I'm sure that's why they were asking if we already had plans to fly out for a weekend. Because our realtors already asked us if we had plans on flying out. So I'm sure that's already in their agenda, their plans.
Though, the advantage to having me go, wouldn't have to take. That would be more PT. Just a thought.
That's not wrong.
But I've done really good at saving up my PTO. I've only used 2 days so far this year, and I have 15 days total per year. So I have 13 days to use between now and end of December. So within the next 3 months, I've got 13 days to use. So I can afford to use a day or two if it means going out and looking at things. That's not a huge issue.
So, do we want to get started while we are waiting for Martha?
We could try. Alice wakes up first anyway. Oh wait,
well, you guys.
Crap. We already woke up. Never mind. We already started and rolled. I'm remembering where we left off last time. Crap.
So the first question, I guess, before we get started, is going to be: do you guys have any XP that you want to spend?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put a specialty in firearm shotgun.
Okay.
I think that's 3 points.
Mm-hmm. I'll deduct that from your XP. Okay. And I will add it to your. All right.
I've got some other ideas, but I'm still brainstorming on those. I'm still trying to figure out which discipline I want to spend the rest of my XP on. I haven't figured it out yet.
Level 2. Oh.
Second.
In a skill, it's 6 for level 2.
Okay, so
I don't know. It's not from my end.
Okay. I guess I will put point in investigation. I've ever used leadership. Point there.
probably because you needed to spend 1 point during
Probably.
character creation.
Yeah, it was probably a character creation.
What would that be used for?
Leadership, if you're attempting to get like a group of people to follow you or do something.
Oh, so it's like your ability to rally people, not necessarily meant focusing.
Right.
I feel like Idaho had that.
Now I was gonna say, if you want to do a switch, a one-time switch, I would allow you to change leadership to something else that you don't have a point in.
Okay.
Subterfuge is the ability to sabotage, to undercut, where, like, for instance, where manipulation is I'm just lying to somebody, or intimidation is like threatening them. Subterfuge is like actively like undercutting them.
But I'm trying to what is
If you were going to, so if you wanted to understand better the who had power and how much power that they could actually exercise within the Camarilla, that'd be a politics role.
let's swap it.
If you want to go from leadership to politics,
Yeah. And then
Okay.
I'll put a second pip in there. I left over 7.
okay, so you're going to put another 2 so one more into politics. Okay,
Thank you. I
brings
do
you down to 1.
appreciate that because I looked at it and I was like, when the fuck have I ever rolled that? Like, joke.
You know what?
Chicken butt.
I was going to say, do you have one you want to switch to?
No. I have one I'm going to add as well.
Okay, what you got?
I have more XP. I'm trying to, let me see what I have. I'm going to add awe. I have daunt already as a presence power, so I'm going to presence level 2 awe.
Okay, hold on.
I'm looking for the XP. I know I have enough. I'm just looking to see how much it costs. Discipline, claim discipline 5, so 10.
So yeah, so it's gonna be, so it'd be 10. So you'd be down to 9. So
Okay.
And then I will add that for you under presence. 11
lot of my potent. I'm noticing that a lot of the potent skills is potence plus presence. So I'm trying to boost my presence so that I can boost my potent skills.
Yeah, potence is one of those ones that's kind of weird. Like there's a lot of useful things in there, but like there's also like I've noticed that sometimes like the skills that you need for like some of these things are very
Specific.
Or off the beaten path. It's almost like they kind of want you to choose something, like build your character a certain way.
Right.
Anyways,
okay. I think I'm done.
All right. With that said, let's get started. So, when we last left off, the group had gotten together. We had actually literally just done our housekeeping. So it is a fresh evening. For the purposes of this evening, we're going to say that Mr. Starwell has had to attend to business related to Wisteria. So that leaves you two with a fresh new night to head out into Philadelphia. So where do you want to go? What do you want to do with your evening?
I think my priorities right now are Jack, honestly. Jack's a brand new kindred. He's going to need to be taught the ropes. So, I'm assuming my main focus is just trying to teach him the ropes and get him accustomed to being a vampire. I assume that's, I haven't sired before, so this is like this is my first time siring, so this is all new to me. But I assume that's what my focus is going to be.
So, what about you, Al? What is your focus for this evening? Well, the previous evening, after you went to into the subway with Annie, you had a bite to eat. You came back, and we had wrapped up.
I've kind of got an open slate. Probably haven't updated threads.
No, I haven't touched any of my homework in so long.
Okay, so here's a challenge, storyteller.
Sure. What do you got for me?
What's a thread for me that comes to mind?
I mean, so the obvious threads that show up when I think of kind of general storyline things that are out there. You guys still have not investigated the creepy warehouses. There is I am trying to think of other things that are kind of hanging out in the air right now. There are so you guys still have not investigated the creepy warehouse. You still have not found out, despite your trip into the subway, you still did not find out what has gone on with the NOS. There are still the Northeast Anarchs and any all threads that need to be done with that, which kind of ties directly into what's going on with Jack. You are.
It's more than politics at this point. This is physical. They're attacking us physically. This is not politics anymore.
Right.
This
it's happened with. I mean, shit was going on before. But it, when everything
Yes.
exploded.
I was just thrown by when you said it. This is all that's all politics. I'm like, no, that's not all politics. This has gone beyond politics at this
Versus the creepy warehouses. That's just poking around investigating.
There is there is still the mystery of what has happened to the Tremere and why they have vanished off into thin air.
And fucked up Michael.
There is so there are a number of different things that you could approach, up to and including, you know, the people who are around the club. You know, there's always still more of the mystery of Jen to unravel.
And you have to remember, you have your premonition that you can use like once per scene too. So like if there's anything in particular that you would like to focus on or try and get more insight on, what to put, what to focus, what to use
context of the further the. I just wanted to be willy-nilly about it. Nothing's going on. I'd be like, I'll use premonition on class.
Well,
Like,
no, I get that, and no, I'm saying like use premonition on something that you think would.
I'm just saying it. For as much as you would think it still has to be played in just the right way.
Great, and it depends on your role too. If you don't roll great, the information you get is very, you know. So, but you know, I'm just reminding you it's there. That's all. I'm not telling you to use it. I'm not saying I know sometimes you forget about some of your abilities, so I'm just reminding you.
Audio's a little bit choppy. I was noticing my levels looked since the update. Let's. And yeah, like it's. But you guys can hear me just fine. Browser.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Fuck up. But it is weird. I'm looking at the mic aux and it's not even yellow lining.
Weird.
It started that just a little while back, even before the update, but I was hoping. And I don't know. We've had this headset for a long time. It's been knocked around. I'm hoping my mic's not going out. That would. But.
I'm muted. That's why you can't hear me. Crap. Okay. So it's not your volume. I just turned your volume on through Twitch just to see.
And so what does it sound like?
Your volume is okay, and it's not that you sound different. It's just there are like 5 or 10 seconds where there's no audio coming through at all. There's like 5 or 10 second gaps, like where there's no audio coming through. So I'm not sure what's going on. It doesn't seem like it's a mic issue. Definitely, it seems like it's more like, you know,
Think it's Twitch stuttering out?
Yeah, like it might be OBS or slobs or something. I don't know.
I'm not using slobs, but yeah, elements. The only thing I can see is where we had 22 drop frames, but that's nothing. Like that's nothing. Oh man. Yeah, how did
I just noticed there's something while I have it on, when you talk, I hear the repeat because I've got I
right,
hear it like 5 or 10 seconds later.
right.
But there's some times that like what you say that I hear in my headphones just doesn't come across at all on Twitch.
God damn it. Grr.
So
Do we want to take a couple minutes to do technical support here and come back
That's
to this
just
in a
the
minute?
thing is like I mean you can try switching it to camera mic and see that better for tonight. Okay, testing. How is that sounding?
it's not just you. It's all of audio. It's the whole it's like me and Knox too. Like me and Knox will get dropped as well.
I can try resetting. It would mean stopping the stream, but if it's reconnected fast enough, it shouldn't.
Okay,
Right?
someone's saying
No. Yeah, Riker's saying it's only me. So has it gotten better since using the webcam?
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
We'll try this.
But if that's the case, then it does tell me something. I don't know.
I went ahead and muted your Twitch again, so I don't hear. I'm not hearing
Dude, technical shit.
I was just using that to troubleshoot.
Okay. Well, thank you, Riker, for the. You're the first one in the chat tonight, so we didn't have anybody to give us background. And I can tell, even in OBS, I'm yellow lining now. Like, I think this mic's going out.
It's okay. If we need to get you another headset. No, I'm just saying if we need to get you another headset, it's not a huge. Even if we get you the same one, that headset is like $25 on Amazon. That's not.
I don't know if I want the same one though, because even when I'm not wearing my glasses, I can feel it pinch on my ears. It's really weird.
We can shop.
Okay.
Anyways,
I think if we. I feel like if we took on things like investigating the Tremere and then maybe also looking into what happened to the NOS and see if, hey, maybe that they're somehow connected.
Okay. So how do you want to start doing that?
Well, fortunately, I feel like it's something that Martha needs to be here for, considering that was kind of the starting point of, hey, something's fucked up with the Tremere. So I think I would probably. Okay, so, but I also, that was more of a suggestion. I wanted to know what Zach wanted to do as well.
Like I said, my main focus tonight is kind of giving Jack the rundown. It's his first.
So we want to split the stories.
Night.
Okay.
You know, I'm not saying our stories can't cross, but like, you know, Jack is brand new to this. He can't just be left to his own device.
Why don't we, since it's just us, why don't we at least just start a normal night? Go over, check on the club, check on peeps, see if something comes up.
So when you guys head over to the club, I'm going to assume, Vic, that you've got Jack with you.
Yep.
So when you head over to the club, where do each of you head initially?
Initially to the door.
Okay, so you're
just check up on Romano and Harvey, make sure they've got everything covered, and let them know that I'm going to have to head out with Jack.
Mm.
Okay, so you're heading up to the front door. Al, where are you headed?
I'd probably just hit up each bar just to check in, because I guess it's been a couple nights since I've really paid much attention to everybody.
Okay. We're gonna start. We'll start at the front. So
Mhm.
Vic, when you get to the front with Jack, he's he is to say that he is surly is somewhat of an understatement here. He very, very much is making it clear to anybody who will even listen to him for a couple minutes that he wants to go find out what happened to his kids. He wants to.
Yeah, that's definitely in the plans. That's part of the plans tonight.
So while he's doing that and he's talking to Harvey about this, Romano kind of gestures to take you to the side.
All right.
So do you step away to talk to Mom? So Romano kind of steps kind of way away from Jack, and he kind of looks at him and he looks at you. He goes, "You know, you can't let him anywhere near his kids, right? Like
not right now. Yeah, definitely. But he at least deserves to know what's going on with them as much as I would like to know as well. So
he's like, well, in his current condition with the way that things are going, like he's like, I don't know everything that happened last night. All I've heard is the stories and stuff. But if what everything that I've heard is true and somebody pancaked his fucking house with his kids inside, like we need to be concerned that he's going to go off half cocked here. Like, does he know who did this?
I don't think so. He may have an idea, but he has no idea what he's in for if he does.
He kind of looks at him over his shoulder again. And he looks at you. He goes, "Between you and me, did this happen to him because of us?"
Yeah, definitely.
He's like, "Does he know that?"
Yeah, he does. The attacker was very forthcoming on saying that they were targeting me personally. So he knows specifically that the attack was because of me, and he was a target.
Romano kind of shakes his head and he's like, "This is a lot, boss." Like,
I know. It's a lot. And he was definitely not one that wanted to be brought into this life. And he was the last person I wanted to bring into this life. But situations dictate. So we're going to try and make the best of it. I'm going to head out with him tonight and just try and see what we can, get going. I'm going to try and see how much, I can get into. Hopefully not. How much convincing I can get, and hopefully not have him lash out without us, and let him know that we definitely have a plan to avenge his family, and that they're definitely the targets of what are. But
he just kind of shakes his head and he goes, "We can cover it up here, but be careful, because if they're targeting he kind of falters and he goes, look," he goes, "You and I," he goes, "we've done dirty deeds, done dirt cheap. You know what I'm saying?" He goes, "Working for the families in New York." He goes, "We've done shit." He goes, "But we were smart enough to know that there's, there's some lines you just, you try to not cross. There's some things that there's a difference between this is business, and this is the kind of shit that ends up setting up for personal shit that goes on for decades. He goes, this kind of shit. He goes,
I know. And he doesn't have our background either, so he doesn't have that kind of knowledge. So that's why I kind of need to go out with him tonight and figure out where his mindset is, and hopefully try and figure out how we can help him the best.
So while you are talking to Romano, Robin comes out to the front with a phone, and she's talking to somebody. She goes, yeah, and she looks at you, Vic, and she goes, hey, I'm on the phone with Moira. She says, do you know what happened to that third of a nos that we were keeping around?
Third of a nos. Hold on, refresh my memory. Who's this third of a nos?
Noel.
Oh, Noel. That's a very good question, because like at the end of every session we say we're going to do something to call and do something for her, and then at the beginning of the next session we never bring it up, or we never ask about what happened with that's a very good question.
Robin is like, so she's gone.
Gone how?
That's part of why Moira is calling me, because she was trying to get in touch with you.
How does something like that just disappear? Where was she? She was up in the hotel, right? Or
you guys had never really specified exactly where you were keeping the torpid body of Noel, so
I thought she was in pieces.
I mean, she had definitely been disarmed. I mean, she'd been in torpor, and I had the assumption that I was under the last time I had heard anything about it is that she was basically in the holding areas underneath of the club.
That's what I assumed.
Yeah, I know there were a few sessions where Michael had talked about calling to get blood for her to start reconstituting the body, and then at the beginning of the next session, I don't think it was ever brought up or accounted for again. But yeah.
So Robin looks at you and is like, "So you don't know what happened here? You don't know what's going on?"
No, I have no idea. I didn't know. No.
She goes, "Shit. Okay."
Ugh.
She walks away from you and looks like she's heading back to her bar. Romano kind of gestures back to Jack and Harvey and goes, "Well," he said, "Harvey and I've got the doors here." He said, "You need to take care of what you need to take care of." He says, "But," he says, "be careful tonight. So it feels like you've got a loaded gun, for lack of a better term."
Yep.
Al, When you head through into the club, uh, one, Robin is not at her bar when you walk by. It looks like it's getting set up. Rhea is there putting stuff away. When you head downstairs to Lane's bar, um, Lane is there also doing, putting her bar together, getting her. When she sees you, she kind of nods at you and she's like, "So, how were things?"
It was an adventure. But I guess anytime Annie shows up, that's kind of the way it is. But yeah, I mean, what have I been missing? How are you doing?
She's like, "It's been steady, I guess." She's like, "I guess that puts a kind of weird spin on things because Jen was here bartending or barbacking for me last night."
Hmm?
And why was that weird?
She was like, "Well, you thought that there was some connection between her and the other weird one."
That's true. Well, that eliminates that. But aside from business, how are you?
She kind of takes a deep breath and kind of looks around. She's like, "I mean, it's
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Refresh! Refresh! Damn, you rolled 20! What did I
all right.
miss?
That was weird. All of a sudden, everything just reloaded. Okay. She kind of shrugs. She's like,
Her name is Refresh.
she's like, the crowds have been had a different vibe to them. She's like, the people aren't tipping as much. She's like, feels like people are a little more, maybe not desperate, but maybe on edge than they've been in a bit. She's like, she kind of shrugs. She's like, the Kennedy is slowly getting a crowd of people who are regulars, and so is Declan.
These are just a bunch of new faces, huh?
Yeah, she kind of looks over at the bar, and she's like, she leans across the bar and looks at you, and she's like, "Kennedy's crowd looks like a bunch of fucking mimes broke out of a goddamn insane asylum."
Okay.
She's like,
It's a
and
bunch of goth freaks, huh?
she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "They all have money. They don't spend it anywhere but at his bar." But she's like, Declan is bringing in a very different crowd.
Different? Or bad different?
She kind of is like, I don't know. She's like, here's we haven't seen Slade in a while.
Mm-hmm.
So there's been kind of a gap, I guess you could say. And now that gap, if you understand what I'm talking about, is being filled in by some of the other people who are hanging around Declan's bar.
Well, maybe I need to play floor manager tonight and catch up with everybody and check out these new crowds for myself.
She's like, I mean, whatever you feel like doing. She says, she kind of waves as Jen shuffles by with a bucket of ice, and she's like, we're, everybody else seems to be pretty taken care of here.
Okay, well, I don't currently have plans to leave for the night. Who knows if that will change, my, schedule. So if you need anything, text me, call me, I'll be on the floor.
She goes, all right.
And I move on to the next bar.
So when you get to your bar, ostentatiously, the bar has almost like transformed, like in how it's split. The bar from on one side down where Kennedy is, now all of the decor is basically monochrome, black and white. The lighting behind the bar has been changed a little bit, so it gives it kind of an almost I don't want to say higher class, but it feels a little bit more
Polished.
serious. Yeah, a little more polished. The other end of the bar, what used to be Ruby's end of the bar, basically, has been almost completely transformed, almost as if there is a dividing line down the middle of the bar. There is like...
We can still hear you, Zach.
There's like a Cthulhu tiki thing for the tip jar. There is a bunch of like old punk and rock and metal posters that have been put up. It kind of weird, like it's like a collage on the back window. There are stickers on the bar now.
Okay.
It's very divey now.
At what point would either of these two feel like that it's their responsibility to change the look of the bar? Like, we have an aesthetic. I'm not pleased. Are both of them there? Are they both working to set everything up?
Kennedy is behind the bar. Declan has not yet arrived.
Yeah, I approach Kennedy. Ask her how she's doing.
They look at you.
Sorry.
And kind of give a brief nod. They are dressed in a black slacks with like shiny black shoes. They have on a white shirt, the style of which has probably not been in fashion in maybe the last 120 years, with a black vest and a bow tie on. They are wearing black riding gloves. and have on like a little conductor's cap. When you ask how the bar is doing, they give you kind of a brief nod and say, fine, business is up about 12%.
Well, numbers are one thing, but who gave you permission to personalize all this? Like, I get a tip jar's one thing. That's fine. You bring your own tip jar. Yeah. But all this?
They kind of look around and they're, after a moment, they kind of give a brief shrug and say, if I have to share my bar with less class, so then I felt the need to differentiate.
I'm not happy with this side either. And at this point, I pull out my phone and I text Moira to please come meet me if she's available.
Moira texts you back and it says, busy looking for a body. Text back again. You don't know where Noel is, do you?
Not off the top of my head. But when was the last time you saw our Tremere friends either?
There's a long, long pause, and there is a sad face, and then a, yeah, what are we going to do about that?
Waiting for our fair Michael to give me some guidance on that one. I just wasn't sure if you knew anything about the changes made to my bar.
Moira texts back and says, just a no changes.
Yes, apparently these two now think that it's their bar and have dissected the bar into punk from 1986 and some goth Gatsby thing? I have no idea.
Moira texts back after a couple minutes and says, have no idea, but they're making money. Not as much as Lane, but almost as much as Lane.
Gonna have to just make a mental note of this to talk to Michael later. I mean, if it's making money, bringing in, new clientele. But I think as the night gets busier, I'm gonna want to circle back here and check out their crowds for myself. So I'm just gonna leave it with Kennedy that I'm not entirely happy with these changes. And if I feel like the people that these changes are bringing in are unsavory, changes will be changed. For now, we'll suffer through tonight.
Vic, where, having rejoined the conversation with Jack and Harvey, I just had to find out that Noel is somewhat missing. What do you go from here? What do you do?
I guess to the apartment just for now, just to have a place to sit down and kind of talk basics out. That seems like a good place to sit down and at least hash out the basics of Vampire 101.
So when you head back to the apartment with Jack, he's, I won't say he's jittery, but he's definitely a little aggro.
Yeah. I'll address that. I'll be like, hey, I realize that you're antsy for your kid, and that's definitely a priority. However, because of the change in what you've endured, there are a few basics we need to go over before we go out looking for your kid. So if you do not mind just chilling out for a little bit and just going over the basics of vampires, of what you are and how to hopefully deal with some of the things that you're going to experience in the short future. And after that, our priority is going out to try and figure out what happened to your kid. Is that okay with you?
He's kind of like, he's like, whatever we got to do. He's
Okay.
like, he's like, this is all new to me. He says, so I don't know. I don't know what the ground rules are. He's like, I'm not trying to fuck things up any more than they're already fucked up. He's like, but if he goes, I don't know what all of this is supposed to be. He's like, the only things I care about right now is this, finding out what happened to my kids. It says, and making sure that the asshole who did it gets put in a short box.
I'd like to tell you
thrown off a long here.
We're on the same page, because the asshole who did it wasn't even targeting you. He was targeting us, and you were the side target. You were just the whole fact that you were targeted at all just it aggravates me, and it angers me as well. So don't think that you're not the only one who doesn't want revenge. Trust me, I want to get back at these assholes too. We're on the same page. We're both going to get these assholes.
He's like, okay, well then let's go.
All right.
He's like, then where? He's like, do we know where they go? Do we know how to get at them? He's like, how do we make this happen?
First of all, we have to make sure that you know the basics. And I don't know if I have to. Do I have to state vampire basics? But kind of want to go over like hunger and kind of the basics of you can't be out in sunlight. You're going to have to make sure you're safe, and for the actual like vampire 101, like anything that you would want to tell a vampire on their first night, just kind of trying to fill him in, and then after that, kind of trying to we have information that at least one of the kids in the house is in a coma. So trying to follow up on that lead at least, trying to figure out who is in a coma and what state they're in would probably be a huge help.
Okay, so going over, so we can say that you go over and just kind of go down the bullet points of like the most basic stuff about being a kindred, if you want to say that. The question is how. So I guess so three things. What do you tell him about the Masquerade? As that's kind of the.
I mean, the same thing. I would think I would tell, any other anarch or anyone on our team, like the Masquerade is, something that we have to keep up to make sure that the vampires stay hidden from humans. Period. So whatever abilities you have, or whatever abilities that you have, may have, you need to make sure that you only use them when there are no humans around, period, and like no humans can witness, because we you know we try to keep the masquerade of there being no vampires, and that's why we have existed for so long, is because we have stayed hidden and we have followed these rules of not using our powers out in the open.
He kind of ponders that a little bit, and he's like, so no one's allowed to know?
You don't know who's allowed to know, and that's why we go by the principle that no one is allowed to know, because you don't know who is and who isn't.
He's like, then what the fuck am I going to do about my kids?
That's we can deal with that. That's, I mean, we can definitely look into that. We're looking, like I've mentioned before. Unfortunately, one of the kids in the house was pulled out deceased. So one of them is all we know. I mean, that's information I gave him last session. So that's not information that was hidden from him. One of the kids was deceased. So what we're working on now is the information that one of them is in a coma, and you know, but we're looking into that kid, and trust me, I'll do everything I can to help you with that. But we can't use our vampire powers in the open to do anything about that. That's not an option.
He's like, well, if we can't, he goes, then what's the fucking point of having any of this? He goes, if we're not allowed to use it, he's like, then
it's not that you're not allowed to use it. It's just that it with great. I'm not gonna. Sorry, but like it. You have to understand that if you use your abilities out in the open, you will only bring wrath upon us down in the future. Like this is, these are things that have happened in the past, where vampires use their abilities in the open, and they become targets, or other vampires become targets because of that. So we hide ourselves. That is not to say that we are completely useless. That's not to say we can't do anything, but we operate in the shadows. We do not operate in the forefront. So anything we do will not be in the purview of the public. Anything we do will be in the shadows, and it will be it will be behind their scenes, so that they know nothing about us.
So this is the point in this discussion when you both receive a text message from Moira. It is in the group chat. Excuse me, it is not from Moira. It is from Romano. He text. We have a Detective Spedman here at the front door who is asking to speak with the ranking person.
Shit. I'm guessing that falls to me, because we don't know. Well, we all know Vic doesn't have a fucking filter, so.
I was gonna say, I'm technically
I'll
the
be
ranking
right there.
person. I shouldn't be the one to talk to police. Though,
I'll be right there. I'm there.
So, Al, you head to the front door.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get there, Detective Spedman is in plain clothes, gray slacks, white shirt, tie. He looks like he's maybe late 40s, and he looks every bit of late 40s. When you come to the door, Romano gestures and says something to the effect of manager on duty. he pulls his badge, flashes it, and puts it away. Says, "I'm Detective Spedman. Following up on a lead. Not here. Don't have a warrant or anything. Just asking some questions."
Sure.
He says, "We got a tip from a local." I'm gonna cut it pretty bluntly here. He says, "We got a tip that a man named Jack works here or has been seen here recently." He says, have you heard of this person? Do you know who I'm talking about?"
I'm actually not sure. We've gone through like a huge kind of hiring situation where and I'm in charge of the bars. I know that I don't have anyone named Jack on my crew. I can't speak for some of our other departments, but I'd be glad to take your card and check in with our head of security. I know he's not here just yet. He's running late tonight.
He says, so he says, he hands you his card. He says, "If you hear anything about this," he says, "I need you to give me a call immediately." He says, "I don't know if you saw the newspapers this morning." He was like, "But there was some sort of, we're still ironing out the details. But long story short," says, "we've got one kid dead. We've got another
My goodness.
in a coma," he said, "and this guy is our prime suspect for what has happened to these kids."
Hmm.
He
So you think
says,
he's dangerous?
we don't, he says, I don't know what happened at his house or how what happened at his house happened. He says, but I would consider him at the very least armed and dangerous. He says he may in fact be some sort of Al Qaeda terrorist, or he says, I don't know. He says, I'm just trying to follow up on a lead here, and we got a lead from a place that he used to work out that apparently this is where he was coming to work now. So
One moment. Because I can't deal with this shit.
You're muted.
I'm sorry. They had all
You're still muted.
They had all fucking day to play with that shit, and they slept all day. Next time, I'm just gonna start throwing the balls all around the house come like noon and wear their asses out.
I'm not sure how that works, but
Anyway, I don't want this headache getting worse. So he's going off about Jack being Al Qaeda. Am I to assume that Jack is anything other than white? Is that what's going on here? Like,
No.
this guy just sounds like he doesn't know what he's talking about, and he's sounds like he's sharing a little too much than he ought to. But anyway, yeah, I just take the card and assure him that I'll get our head of security to give him a call back.
he goes, awesome. He goes, if you hear anything, give He's like, give me a call.
Definitely.
He seems like he's kind of reticent to leave, but he does eventually turn around and walk off. Romano looks at you, Al, and is like, what the shit?
Well, did you see the news?
He says, yeah, it looks like somebody took a fucking wrecking ball to his house.
Well, that wouldn't be too far off from the truth, but I still haven't gotten all the details from Vic. I haven't run into him since we split up over here, so I'm not sure what's going on. I guess I would text Vic and ask where he's at, because I'd rather tell him this in person.
I'm at the apartment, so yeah, I can come over to the club, or you can come over to the apartment. I'm just
No. I'm coming to you. We don't need Jack on the premises yet,
I'm
because that's the one cop that'll show his face. You don't know who's just gonna roll up in here undercover, peeking around our business. And then that would make a big fucking scene. So yeah, I'll meet you
just
at the
across
apartment.
the street.
Yep.
So this seems like an excellent time to take our bio break.
Yep. And
So come back in 10.
Yeah.
Sure.
We'll
All
see.
right, everybody. We'll be back in a few minutes. Now it's time to take a bio break, go get a smoke, a snack, something to drink, and we will reconvene in a moment. All right, we are back from break, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. And so we are going to be without Martha for the rest of the night. Things came up, and we wish her the best and hope she gets feeling better. I'm joined tonight by Knox, our storyteller, Zach, who plays Vic. I'm your Alice.
Heyo.
And we're playing some Vampire the Masquerade, Billy by Night, session 64. And remember, we love to hear from you guys in chat. We love chatting with you, so make sure you're active in there, and we'll get back to the story.
So, Al, you were heading back to the apartments to talk to Vic. So what do you, when you get over there, what do you say or do?
So you and, well, at least Jack here, I'm guessing because of your help, is now wanted by the cops. And they're sniffing around here, looking for him.
No, not because of my help. It was only because of my help that he got out of there. Or he would have been a victim too.
That's why they're looking for him, because he's missing.
Yeah.
Jack's like, okay, big deal. What? Just go to the cops and tell them what happened.
I took the guy's card. We'll have to see. I mean, kind of y'all's situation. I'm here to help out, but you know what? You know what? You know what? I want to use premonition on the card.
So, okay.
Do that?
You can indeed. Premonition is...
If it does it in the... If it auto rolls, it should have it already selected, right?
1 second. So premonition, you need to rouse check.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Don't get any hungrier. Okay. So, resolve and aspects.
No mod.
Damn.
Well
Does that
then.
work?
I'm not sure. We'll see.
Didn't get hungrier.
No, but it was a messy crit.
I know. So I'm like,
we'll see.
So when you touch the card, out the world kind of falls away. You can see the detective as he's walking down the street away from the club. As he is walking away, it feels like your vision kind of pans out away from him. And there is you see figures who are following him. Both at a distance and on nearby rooftops. And then it's almost like it drops back again to a much larger perspective even than that. And there are someone sitting above everything, looking down on the streets of Philadelphia. Watching the situation play out, taking a deep breath and exhaling a cloud of smoke through the streets. But then it pans out even further than that. You see people sitting around a table with the whole of Philadelphia on the table in front of them. And it looks like you're looking over their shoulder. And then you hear a man's voice, very cultured, maybe English, maybe Irish, something European. You hear them say, "What do we have here?" And then suddenly, the people who are sitting around the table are looking at you. They stand up and start to move around the table as if they are walking towards you. And you hear a woman's voice that says, "You don't belong here." And all of a sudden you are physically thrown down through each of the perspectives again until it snaps you back to reality. You have a gut-wrenching feeling in your stomach, as if the hunger inside of you has just exploded, as if whoever that last person was physically grabbed the beast inside of you and pulled it out and pulled it closer to the surface. You are extremely hungry.
Boy. Oh boy. And what did Vic and Jack see from their perspective?
What do you mean?
Like, you mentioned me being thrown down through the perspectives. Did I physically have a reaction to that? Did I fall? Did I stumble?
I would say that when you finally came back, it would be like as if somebody like actually physically shoved you. Like you had the premonition from the card, and like it would look to them as if somebody actually physically like shoved you, even though nobody actually appeared to.
Okay.
You okay?
Yeah. And I would basically, that's a lot to describe, but I would reiterate that, like, everything I saw to Vic, like, I feel like this guy is being watched. I don't know. It just feels like layers upon layers of surveillance or something.
I don't know. On one hand, I'm thinking it's best for Jake to get in and get this out of the way and get the cops off his back. But in another sense, if there are cops that are out to get him or out to get us, then that's just putting bait right where they want it.
Jack is like looking back and forth between the two of you, like what the fuck are y'all talking about? Like,
Well, I've giving you the 101, but there are vampires within the police. There are vampires within, like the that there are vampires everywhere that you might think there would just be normal people. So we have to play this completely safe, because if we play our cards wrong, then things can come down on not just us but you and your kids, and or your remain your kid in the hospital and everything else. So we're having to try and play this extremely delicately, and try and figure out how to get in there, surgically, and this is a very delicate situation. I hate to say it, and as much as you and I, trust me, I'm much. Al can contest. I am prone to violence at almost any something sets me off. I definitely I will take things down. That is not a problem. But I've also learned through my years of experience of being a vampire that some things are not as easy as just going in and tearing things down. Like, some things have to be done surgically. They have to be done very carefully. So
Jack's kind of like, he kind of like shakes his head. He's like, but if the cops think I'm involved in this, why don't we just go to the cop? Why don't we just tell them that I'm not, and tell them what we know?
Because we don't know if the cops are involved with Northeast vampires who are Reese. And if that's the case, and they are, then they would just take you and keep you, and we would not see you again, or they would kill you, or like cops are not a. I hate to say it, but police are not the go-to option always. We do have to do our research. Police can be a good tool sometimes. In fact, we've used them before, but we never know who on the police is working for us or for them, unfortunately. And going in with blind, I'm not saying we can't. I'm not saying we can't go forward with this, but I'm just saying we need to do some more research. We need to figure out where exactly this detective lies, where his allegiances lie, if he's involved at all, if because there are other vampires that are involved with the police, that if we just go out in the open and just start saying stuff, that's it. That's the end. They'll take you, and we won't see you ever again. And you won't have a chance to get your kid back. So this is something we have to do. Unfortunately, we have to put thought into it. We can't just act with what we want.
Jack is kind of like, okay. So then what is the next step?
Well, Al, you have a police contact. Is there anything you can get from
Like, what specifically?
I-
The guy can, like, run plates and, like, maybe, get me a little bit of information there, but
right. Anything is useful at this point. Like, he's our only insider.
I need to know what questions to ask, baby.
What questions to ask? About the cop, that is looking. Does this cop seem to be forthright or connected to anything?
Okay.
Does is this cop connected to or working with anybody that could be a threat to us?
Well, you know what? Give me a minute. Let me just text my dude, and we'll see. And I go ahead and text Nolte and see if he's available to chat for just a moment.
He texts you back. He's like, sure, what's going on?
So I go ahead and give him a call.
Okay, so what do you, when you call, he picks up and he's like, hey, what's going on? What can I do for you?
Hey man, so had this cop snooping around my club, and as you know, good cop, bad cop, that's not exactly great for business. And I got his card, and I just thought maybe I'd check in with you to see if this guy is someone I should be worried about, if he's on the level, he's a bit crooked.
He when you give him his name, he's kind of like, uh, he's like, I mean, I don't know who that is. He's like, I mean, if you want me to take some time and look into it, he's like, I can ask some questions, but he says, but I don't. He's like, Philadelphia's got thousands of cops. He's like, I don't know all of them.
Okay, well, I mean, considering he showed up at my club, I figured he might be a bit more local, but I would appreciate you checking into the guy. I mean, like I said, my, that's just bad for business having cops wandering around eyeballing everybody.
He says, what was he asking about?
Our new hires, we've been, hiring a lot of new people, since the, rebranding. And I don't know everybody. I'm bar manager, so I know my bartenders, my barbacks, but anybody else's department I don't really know. So I took the guy's card, and you know, I was cordial, but asked him, to pay on his way.
He's like, huh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know either.
He's like, well, he's like, I guess I'll ask around and see what I can find out for you, but he's like, I'm not real sure uh, exactly what I'm gonna. He's like, I don't know what I'm gonna be able to tell you. He's like, he said I will check it out for you.
Well,
Um,
one cop, cop to cop, I'm sure you could spot if he's got like kind of a spotty record or he's known for pulling some heinous bullshit. That's kind of all I want to know is, there's decent cops coming around just trying to keep the peace around here. Great. More the merrier. But if this guy is, known for pulling some shit, I don't want that around my business. Um, but yeah, in other words, man, did you see the news this morning?
He goes, yeah, we all heard about it. He goes, we're there's he says we are still trying to find out exactly what happened because he's like he's he's like we don't even have a good explanation for what exactly caused what happened to that house to collapse. He's like there wasn't any faulty gas lines, there wasn't anything like that. He was like, talked to the neighbors said the house was in good condition. Apparently the guy who lived there kept it up nice. He said, but all of a sudden last night the entire thing fucking collapses in on itself with a couple kids inside because we can't. Says can't find the guy whose kids were there. He goes, where? He says there's an all points bulletin out on him. He says, but
I know you say nobody knows anything at this point, but I mean, you're looking for the dad. Is it some kind of suspected foul play, or we just?
he says he says honestly, he goes, he says I can't speak to that. He says, but he says I can tell you my gut feeling on it.
Yeah.
He says, which is I don't think we're ever going to find him. I think that whatever happened, whether he decided to off his kids and decided to do it in some sort of spectacular fashion, or he decided to pick a fight with a fucking tank. He says, we'll never find that dude. He's in the river.
Mm. And you said that
but
one of the kids didn't make it?
He's no. There was kid got fucking building dropped on him.
The other one?
The other one's in a hospital in ICU. Last I heard.
This may be a little bit, outside of your purview, but I have a soft spot for kids. I mean, is there anything I can maybe send to the kid in the hospital?
He says, I'm sure somebody has set up a GoFundMe. We don't have, well, like I said, we're still trying to figure out everything that's going on. Kids under the only thing I do know, the kid's under 24-hour surveillance in case the dad shows up.
No, it's better to be safe. Yeah. Okay, well, I won't keep you any further. Hope you have a good night, and obviously, you ever need anything my way, you know where to call.
He goes, oh, absolutely. He goes, if I ever find a night off to go drinking, he goes, God knows I could use one.
Come on over.
He says, have a good night, sweetie.
You too, hon.
He hangs up. So,
Nice. Good information.
At this point, I was trying to slowly retch out of him which hospital the kiddo had been taken to. But chances are with the GoFundMe and all of the news, it might be out there on the internet.
But also the fact that he disclosed that they are watching that hospital, like that hospital's under watch.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's
we
not
want to
like
know which hospital.
But regardless of that, we can't
Oh,
just
gee.
walk in. It's
Oh, I
not
know.
like So
Would it be technology or investigation to dig up where the kid's been admitted?
So okay, walk me through. How exactly are you attempting to figure this out?
to the GoFundMe.
Just essentially Googling. I mean, really just breaking my phone or my laptop out and trying to see if possibly, because sometimes the GoFundMe will say the name of the hospital where someone's been admitted. With as much news coverage as has gotten, maybe someone has released that into the press. Sometimes cops do that shit just to trick somebody into coming to the hospital to try to get the kid.
So we're going to say this will be your wits and investigation, but I'm going to also say that you're going to need a pretty high number of successes here in order to determine the information that you're looking for.
It's
Investigation.
Do you want to re-roll those two?
We already started with a deficit tonight.
That's right. You're rolling last week.
So you scour the internet. You can't even find the GoFundMe.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Well, boys, I think that's all the help I'm going to end up being tonight. Do you think there's something else I can do to assist you?
Jack's he's kind of like, so what the situation really is right now is that motherfucker dropped a house on my kids, fucked me up, and basically killed me, he said. And now I'm being framed for what happened to my kids.
Unfortunately.
The way I heard it, it's a lean between if you're alive, frame you, and the possibility that you're unalive. So, yeah, it's not looking good. I certainly wouldn't be bringing poor Jack over here to start his first night at work. Unless you got some basement cleaning.
He's like, oh, what the? He's like, So what do we fucking do now? He's like, if going to the cops is not an option and we don't know where my kids are, then what's the next step?
We know who did it, or at least who was responsible.
He's like, so what are we gonna do? We gonna head back to the gym and start fucking rousting people until somebody fucking talks and says where the last time they saw that asshole? Said, are we? Would you?
Do you think he could avoid the gym? Or do you think he'd go back there out of a sense of pride?
He's like, I don't even fucking know. He was definitely gloating last night when he did this shit.
Might be worth it to camp outside the gym and see if he shows up or leaves. And maybe we can catch him outside the gym.
So, what do you guys want to do?
If I'm of no further use, I would like to call Uriel.
Okay. So you're going to call Uriel. Vic, what are you going to do?
I mean, Jack was there. He heard the whole situation explained to him. So, I mean, it's not like we're hiding the situation from him. I'm thinking, and if Jack is agreeing to coming with, to stake out the gym and see if Vamp shows up, and if so, that may be a lead. That may be a way to get us to find out where the Northeast vampires are.
So you want to go stake out the old gym that you went to when you first met Jack and Westy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And while staking out, I'll keep explaining things to Jack and trying to figure out at least what his skills are. If he has Bloodhound, or if he has, if he can smell different things, or if not, or just trying to figure out what kind of vampire he is and what kind of abilities he has.
So, Al, you wanted to call Uriel. Do you just do that right there in front of them, or do you walk off to call
I'd
Uriel?
probably be walking back to the club at this point, since I've dropped off the message, because I think I still need to check in with Declan once he arrives, and then my third bar, correct? I only checked.
Yeah, you did. I mean, you still haven't really talked to Robin either. So
yeah.
So while you are calling Uriel, it rings twice and she picks up, and she says, "Well, what a pleasure to hear from you. How are you doing this evening?"
It's been an interesting start, to say the least. But seem to be one that I trust with certain matters.
She says, "Go on."
Well, I know I've consulted you a number of times on visions and drawings, so I'm hoping you'll be able to help me again.
She says, "All right."
I had this premonition that started out so focused on a certain person, but then it's almost like I kept jumping further and further out in perspectives until I was at a table surrounded by others that did not seem happy to see me there. And then I just felt like I was completely kicked all the way back into my reality, so much so that I felt it physically.
There's a brief pause. Muriel, when she answers, her voice is very tentative. She says, well, I cannot speak to the nature of your vision. She says, I can tell you that there are kindred who exist in the world who are powerful enough to know when they are being observed, even in a unintentional state. And those kindred are also powerful enough to push back, as you have found out, it appears.
Oh, yeah.
She says, I do not know if this is a metaphorical pushback in that you are seeing things that you are not intended to see, or if this is a real pushback in that you have glimpsed behind the curtain, as it was.
Someone looked directly at me and told me I was not supposed to be there.
She says, I do not know all of the different ways in which I could possibly interpret that, other than that you have perhaps brushed up against some things or someones who are disinclined to have their machinations known publicly. She says, I would be wary, but I would also... There's a long pause. She says, you don't know any of these people, I'm assuming.
Storyteller, did I recognize?
The in your vision, they were more the vague shadows and outlines of people than they were
Okay.
actual.
And I wouldn't have recognized any voices I heard?
No.
Okay.
She says, if you don't recognize them, then even if they recognize you, they may so be inclined to simply let things play out rather than attempting to tip their hand.
I'd also probably recount the previous evening's adventure with Annie. Well,
When you get to the end of that, there's kind of a laugh. She was like, had it been me, I'd have stayed in the tunnels and seen exactly how deep that particular rabbit hole went.
well, you know, when the sun's coming up, you have to make a judgment call sometimes.
She says, regarding the things that you found in the art, she says, I don't feel like you have reached the end of that particular tunnel.
Quite literally, then.
She says, as for your, shall we say, companion for the evening.
Yeah.
She says, I am not wont to pass judgment on those that I don't know personally, or to spread rumors. But given your description and the name, she says, I have heard of this one before.
Even upon meeting multiple times, she's still a friggin' mystery to me. Any kind of perspective on this person would be greatly appreciated.
Uriel takes a long moment. She says, she is shall we say, afflicted. She says, you know that she is a Malkavian.
I put that together.
And she says, you know that that tends to manifest in any number of different fashions. Some who are afflicted with a chronic case of depression in their living lives find themselves crushed under the weight of the world and their dead ones. Some who are suffer from manic behavior find themselves almost intolerably energetic in their dead lives. She says, you are not the first kindred that Annie has, shall we say, glommed onto.
Anyone else I might know?
She says, not in the last couple decades. There are some kindred who find her to be a useful, if somewhat gullible, tool. There are still many other kindred in our city who find her company to be less than palatable. And there are still others who find those who share her company for however short a time that is to see that as a reason to pass judgment against them. Let's leave it at that.
Interesting. Yeah. She's interesting and she comes and goes as she pleases, so it doesn't give others much of an opportunity to decide whether or not you are going to be entertaining her for the evening. Well, off that subject, how have you been? How is your club?
She says, Madison is currently doing some housekeeping. She says, we've had a number of different things that have been let us say have not been fantastic for either business or for interpersonal relationships. She says, and as a result, Madison is making some changes, both personnel wise as well as to some of our business arrangements.
Care to be more specific?
She says, well, one of those changes was sending Kennedy to work at the Beacon.
Oh, yes, Kennedy.
Euro says he's a bit opaque, that one. Says, but he's good at his job. There are those who, shall we say, are or were less than thrilled about how often good he is at his job and how little regard he has for some of the others that are in his
presence.
Vicinity.
Uriel says, given time and space, she says, Kennedy will, I'm sure, make you money much like he made us money.
But
she says, they are a you can almost hear the smile. Says, I can only imagine that if they were anywhere near as peculiar in life as they have been in death, that they drove their parents and certainly their relationships somewhat bad.
yeah, had to have a quick chat at opening because I showed up and both of my bartender, barback combo, whatever that I have on my bar have decided to split the bar in half and redecorate. You can only imagine what Kennedy has done with my bar.
There's a chuckle on the other end. She goes, oh, I imagine that they've done something to attempt to distinguish themselves quite dramatically from the other person that they apparently are sharing your bar with.
Mm-hmm. I was none too happy. So there will be a discussion.
She says, is there any reason on why you would not let them continue to have that space to do that work?
Honestly, it comes down to feeling like middle management. I personally, I mean, yeah, the club has a certain aesthetic that we're trying to keep to, but I also Michael has not been on the premises yet tonight, and I'm worried in the sense of what's going to blow back on me. I'm more like if Michael's cool with it, all about individualism and having a style, okay, as long as shit does not blow back on me. Don't need it in my life.
Uriel thinks on that for a second and says, sometimes the best way forward is to live and let live.
On the whole, I can definitely agree with that. I just want to make sure I don't get my ass chewed out. But I agree with you. I mean, if Michael came in and had no qualms with it, then I would be done. So I think we kind of both agree on that.
She says, well, I appear to have people approaching that need my assistance.
Well, I thank you very much for taking my call this evening.
She says, hopefully we can chat again soon.
That would be lovely. I'll see if I can get a night off.
She goes, until then, and hangs up.
Then.
So where you said, so you were headed, you said you were walking off. Where are you headed?
I was heading back to see if Declan had showed up yet, and then from there check in with Robin.
Okay. We're going to come back to that. Vic, do you leave directly from the apartments to head to West Philly Hustle to stake that out, or what do you do?
I guess it depends on whatever state Jack is in. I'm trying to like leave him, you know, or at least, you know, get him into being a vampire. You know, like I'm trying to get him into, at least teach him the ropes. Basically, I don't know if I'm up for leaving to do anything tonight, just because I want to try and. Unless Jack is like really up and wanting to go, and I can't convince him otherwise.
So Jack's definitely raring to go.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely wanting to get this hunt started. So it's up to you, however, whether or not you decide to let that pan out. If you're going to
I kind of think we need to wait for. Personally, I would like to wait for Michael to come back, so that we can make it a full, like a clan decision, like a whole or not clan, but you know, coterie decision. I really don't want to strike out on my own at this point. But yeah, as much as I can take this time to at least, you know, try and teach him what it is to be a vampire, and then B, try and figure out what type of vampire he is. I think I've gotten his feeding down. It seems like he's kind of like a. I'm not 100% sure, but based on the last time we went feeding, it kind of seems like he's kind of like a retributionary. Like he need. I don't know for sure, but it kind of seems like in order for him to feed, it kind of seems like do they need to deserve it? I'm not sure if that or either that or they need to consent. It's one of the two. It's one of those two that I'm kind of leaning. I haven't figured out which one it is yet, but one of those was he didn't like that I was feeding on people that were sleeping because they couldn't consent to it. And then like the other part was that he went all out on the person that was um, attacking the like trying to rob the other person. So I'm not sure if his feeding style is like retribution or if it's just that they need consent. I'm leaning back and forth on those two. I noticed those two things while trying to feed with him. So if questioning him will help, if I can question him and try and figure out which of those two helps, then that would help me at least with hunting for him later on. But I'm not sure if I can narrow that down. But that might be something to do.
So you're not actually going to leave. You're going to try to spend the rest of the time with him at the apartments, just trying to talk to him.
Correct. Yeah, just trying to fit him into what it is to be a vampire, and I don't think he's ready to leave yet. Honestly,
Got it.
Like I think there's more information that he needs to know, and kind of like if there's any information I can get from him to kind of help him in his situation, that helps too. But I don't think he's ready to leave the apartment yet, so I don't want to leave him alone.
Okay. So, with you guys staying there, Al, when you head back to the bar, when you walk, how do you go in? Do you go in through the back door so you can head directly to your bar, the quickest way, or are you going to go through the front doors and so you can hit Robin's bar first?
I'll go by my bar first.
So when you head through the back door, Clyde is standing there with a flashlight and is looking basically. So when you go through the back door, there is a set of steps down that go into the basement.
Right.
He is there kind of looking around, checking security cameras in that area and whatnot. And he kind of waves at you and while you're walking in.
Yeah, what's up, man?
He's like, well, he's like, someone came in here and took our half an os.
What'd you get on camera?
He goes, that's exactly it. Nothing.
Well, I can understand not seeing the assailant, but how do you not see a body get up and move?
Well, here's the thing about that. There is on the cameras, there is a smudge that creeps in through this door back here, and he pushes the flashlight to the door,
Mm-hmm.
and there is the lock looks fucked up.
Mm.
He says, somebody broke in back here. Says, all the cameras, they just look like a dirty smudge.
Mm-hmm.
Says, got downstairs, picked up the body, literally shoved the body into a burlap bag. And then walked right out the back door.
Can I do premonition on the tapes?
You could. So you don't have the tapes there in front of you. You would actually have to go to the security room and watch the video to do a premonition.
Okay.
But you could certainly do that.
Yeah, that seems to take precedent over bitching at bartenders. So I imagine if things are awful, they'll text me. So I'll head up to security.
So when you get to the security and Clyde rolls the footage for you, it's basically exactly what it looks like. Happened just after the sun went down, right before anybody got there. Back door.
Wait, you said before the sun went down?
No, right after the sun
Right
went
after. Okay.
down. But before anybody got to the club.
Right.
The camera on the inside shows the lock getting fiddled with, and then the door pops open. And someone who is like hunched over, you can't see who it is. It literally looks like a dirty smudge on the film. Goes in, pushes the door shut behind them, goes directly down the hallway into the room where Nawal's body was being held. The camera, on another camera, picks up, he pulls out some sort of light colored sack, picks the body up, drops it inside, and walks out.
Do I yeah, I guess I should have to do premonition first. See if it actually rolls.
So you have an issue.
Okay.
You need to roll a rouse check.
Yeah.
You are at 4 hunger.
Ooh, shit. That was me last week when I wasn't paying attention to my hunger and I was just doing shit. When I turned Jack, I was like, all right, yay.
I'm just wondering how I went from 1 to 4 so fast.
From your messy crit and the vision that you saw.
He mentioned that your hunger went up tremendously. Like your
Okay, I must have just been in the scene.
Yeah.
You could do it, and if you're successful, your hunger will still stay only at a 4.
No, I need to go get a snack before I try to pull this shit. Because if I beast out, I'm gonna like rip apart the security system.
It's not like you haven't done it before.
Yeah.
Fuck this laptop. So what are you gonna do?
There any snacks around the club?
So you're gonna retreat back into the club to go look around?
Yeah, maybe somebody's already sloshed or high or something.
So when you head back into the club, you're already near your bar. So when you head into the club, the first thing that you notice, because the door that you go closest, it would basically be your end of the bar or Kennedy's end of the bar.
Yeah.
All of the people here that are standing at Kennedy's end of the bar, are dressed exquisitely, if by exquisitely you mean going to a funeral. All of the men are in extremely tailored suits. Some of them are in kind of like turn of the century, almost dandy looking suits. Some of them are in like pinstripe suits that look like it's straight out of 20s, 30s, and 40s. Some of them are in the absolute newest fashions. It is an entirely monochrome affair.
Yeah.
All of the women are dressed either in very, very, shall we say, like Victorian bustles and very elaborately dressed, or they are in like the simplest straight black dresses. Everyone's makeup is perfect, but it's all black.
Yeah.
Everyone's lipsticks is black. Everyone has eyeliner on. Everyone has a it is not exactly what one would consider a party atmosphere. Everyone's talking, chatting. The mood is very low key. Not a single one of them is holding a beer. Every single one of them is drinking mixed drinks. And from what you can see, even through the crowd, is that none of them are ordering well. Every single one of them is ordering. But with that said, the crowd is also basically, there's almost kind of like a moat around the outside of them. Every once in a while, somebody gets brave enough to try to go get a drink at Kennedy's bar, and he'll serve them. But the crowd itself tends to run off repeat customers. Usually, if they get a drink, they go.
They've staked their claim.
Yeah, they go up, they get a drink, they close their tab, and they leave immediately because the people who are there are a little cold to them.
So, like, first bar numbers.
I didn't say it.
I did. Shit.
Meanwhile, on the other half of the bar, it is a total mix of, there are people there who are in fetish gear. There are people there who are doing the entire, punk with the pompadour. There's there are a couple people there who are just look like, they're wearing band t-shirts and cargo pants. But it is a party. Like everybody that's on what would have been Ruby's end of the bar on that side. Like it is almost, from where you're standing, it's almost weird, because even though it's literally the same bar, if you took pictures on either end of the bar, like people would say it was a completely different night.
Yeah.
Declan is behind the bar. He's doing bottle tricks. People are hooting and hollering. There's a girl sitting up on the bar, dressed kind of scantily. Both tip jars are stuffed full.
Good on him.
So, on the other side, most of your regulars, as well as all of hers, have migrated, it looks like, to Lane's bar. You see the septa guys that are down there,
Yeah.
who are engaged in some sort of curious conversation with Jen. You see them both like pointing at her and gesturing to their phones, and it's pretty obvious what that conversation is starting to sound like.
I don't know. I'm kind of thinking of turning one of the septic guys into a repeat customer, kind of like Michael has.
So
They're kind of always around. They like me.
So you've got a wide variety of potential victims. The other thing that you notice is it is a feeling almost like a tinge behind your eye.
Mm.
Hmm.
And it feels like there is something that is you're not seeing. There is
Mm.
maybe something that is seeing you.
Yeah. That's sense the unseen.
Huh.
Don't need to rouse for that.
No, that is wits and aspects. So, when you look around, it becomes fairly apparent very quickly to you that Annie had been waiting to see you
Mm.
Hmm.
and had positioned herself in such a way as you would know, as she is literally standing by your side and about 3 feet away with those big dead doll eyes just looking at you.
How are you tonight?
She kind of tilts her head to the side, like staring at you. And she goes, "Not as hungry as you are."
This is true. Care to go get a snack?
Her lips kind of curl up in a smile, and she puts a hand out as if she's reaching for yours.
Okay, I'll give her my hand.
She takes you towards the back door. And as you walk out the back door, Clyde is still standing there, and he turns around and sees you. He's like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, what the fuck?"
Hi, this is Annie.
She looks at him, and he just kind of like goes back to what he's doing, and he's just like, you can hear him.
Poor guy.
You can hear him murmuring under his breath, be like, "She's gonna eat me. She's gonna eat me. She's gonna eat me."
I'll protect you.
As she is walking with your hand in hand with you, she looks back at you and gives you kind of a smile. She goes, "Had a feeling you'd be hungry." she leads you up a local fire escape, not too far away. That's about 2 blocks away. There is a tarp. She pulls the tarp back, and there is a man. His wrists are bound behind his back with zip ties. His feet are bound with zip ties. He's got a gag in his mouth. And one of his arms, the sleeve on his arm, is completely shredded. And there are multiple track marks.
Hmm. Do I recognize this guy at all? He's just some rando. Okay.
She looks at you and smiles. She goes, I even fixed your dinner the way you like it.
You're saying you got him high for me?
She kind of preens a little bit, and she's like, even found a good dealer.
Okay, but after this, we need to talk on the way back. Can you promise me you won't disappear on me?
She gives a faint nod. And then gestures to the man.
Now, these surroundings, is this like a look like he's squatting? Does it look like he actually lives here and this is a well-kept apartment? Like, where are we at exactly? What are the surroundings?
You're on a roof.
We're just up on the roof. Okay.
It looks pretty distinctly like she straight up kidnapped this guy and then drugged him.
Are you going to be taking care of the body after this? I didn't exactly plan for a cleanup, you know.
She kind of shrugs and she is like, there doesn't have to be a body.
Please elaborate.
She's like, you don't have to kill him. She's like, I don't care, but you don't have to.
What? Okay, wait, let me remember. 3 is unconscious but not dead, right? Or is 3
Correct.
dead?
No, 3 is, so drinking 3 from somebody is basically going to deplete them to the point of where consciousness is going to be iffy. Drinking 4 off of somebody is where you're putting them into the point of being medically dangerous.
Okay, then I'll do 3. Yeah, okay. For some reason I had 3 in my head as the top tier. Okay. No, we don't have to kill him. Okay. But he had seen both of us. What are we gonna do about that?
She reaches over and like uses her fingernails to like open one of his eyes. Like his pupils are so blown out, dilated.
Okay, this guy has no fucking clue what's going on. Okay. Dinner!
So, what do you do?
Yeah, I'll take 3.
So, how do you do it? Do you just bite into his neck? Do you sink your fangs into his arm? Do you
I'll just go for yeah, I guess the neck because his hands are bound. I was thinking a wrist, but yeah, neck's fine. It's fine. I'm not being picky.
So when you bite in to his neck, two things become really apparent. One, this dude is so high on opiates that every little bit that you drink makes you have this totally washed out feeling. Like this dude's been shot up with high-end drugs, and it is not far along. Like it is going like whatever he's ingested, you're basically mainlining yourself here. So there is a super smoky, mellow feeling that just crashes over you on waves. The other thing that you feel as you do this is the resonance of this guy's blood is just absolutely lethargic. Like it is like even as you are drinking, even if he wasn't as high as he was, like the very essence of what is in his bloodline just makes you feel like everything has kind of slowed down, a little dopey, a little dreamy. So, you said you're drinking 3 off of him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, that is enough to bring you back down to a 1. While you were drinking, Annie basically stands at his feet and just watches you with those doll eyes. So what do you do?
I'd obviously thank her for a meal and let him know that I definitely have some business back at the club that I need to check in on, but I would like to walk and talk.
She is like, okay. So she puts the tarp back over the guy, leans down, and pats what you think is his head, and says in a very, very quiet voice, "Stay."
I have to admit, I'm kind of starting to like her, y'all. Like, if she's annoying, but like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just high.
So she stands up and comes back to your side and kind of looks up at you with those dead doll eyes. And she seems almost expectant.
What's going on? What do you need?
She says, "You wanted to talk."
Oh. Thought maybe there was something else on your mind aside from that. First of all, maybe an odd question, but entertain me. You seem quite latched on to me. What spurned all that?
She looks away, and then she, like, there's like the hint of a smile that tugs up at her mouth. Then she looks at you and she says, I don't want to talk about that. Next question.
Not exactly fair, is it, Annie? I understand. It's fine. I kind of wondered why you'd be so attracted to me. You know, you seem to have a knack for being invisible when you want to be. And I think you've been hanging around my club a lot more than I have seen of you. Do you happen to have you happened to witness any other things that maybe I wouldn't see going on in my own club?
She gains a little bit of a skip in her step. She's not outpacing you, but she's walking next to you, and as she is skipping, she nods.
Really? Tell me. Come on, girlfriend, spill it.
She kind of shrugs. She's like, saw the rats reclaim their own.
And was there more than one rat? Or just the one?
The tone of her voice drops and her eyes narrow, and she goes, always more than one filthy rat.
That definitely helps my investigation.
When you say that it helps you, her eyes open wide again, and she gives a very brief nod.
You know, I did a little checking up on you. Yeah, I gotta be protective of my friends and who I invite into my circle. And granted, it's just a rumor, but I do hear through the grapevine that you've got a bit of a bad reputation, and then it sometimes rubs off on those that you latch onto. You know why people might think this way about you?
She gives a kind of half-hearted shrug, but as she does, it's very apparent that she is looking basically everywhere other than you when she does it.
Avoidance. It's not very fair. I mean, if you wanted to ask me a question, I'd answer it.
She turns to you, and in the smallest voice says, dead one comes back, you're still going to pick me, right?
The dead one? Who do you mean?
Jen, with 2 N's.
She kind of shakes her head and she goes, You'll see. When you get to the club, do you head through the front door or through the back?
Through the back gets me to security faster, right?
It would indeed.
Yeah, let's do that.
So when you head up to the back, Jen is out there taking out some trash, and there is a flash. It is just a moment where Jen sees you and Annie, and there is a almost flash of anger on her face. And when you look at Annie, it is a perfect just mask, like no emotion whatsoever, just those big dead doll eyes. Jen spins on her heel and storms inside. Meanwhile, in the apartments, Jack is pacing as he's talking to you, Vic. He says, so if I'm understanding what you're telling me about all of this, he says, so the idea here is that we can't live our lives anymore because other people that are like us are going to come down on our heads if we do.
It's not necessarily true. It just doesn't mean, it just means we can't live our lives the way we used to. The way we used to live our lives is long gone. I will contest that, you know, me personally, and I'm not going to try and,
You mean attest?
Attest? No. I said what I said because I'm dumb.
Oh, that's your excuse.
No. So, me personally, I've just been reacquainted with my stepdaughter, and it's only been a few months since I've known her, and it's been probably 20 years since I've seen her before that, and there are things that I had to hide from her and reasons that I had to escape from that life. And there's all sorts of extenuating circumstances. So I'm not saying that everything is law, but things are definitely going to change. You cannot live your life the same way you have been living it. That's a definite.
He's like, so what am I going to do about my kid?
I'm hoping when Michael comes back, we can have a very good talk and kind of figure out a way forward from there. But your kid is in the hospital right now and is currently receiving the best care they can get. I don't think there's anything else we can do for your kid until they get out of the hospital. If that's an option. I don't, and it, being that your kid's in a coma, what can we do? Like, there's nothing we can that I know of that we can do to bring your kid out of a coma. Like this seems like it's in medical hands right now.
He goes, okay, well then how do we die? He says, because when I get my hands on that motherfucker, I'm going to kill him.
Well, best way to do it is go for the brain. It's kind of like everything you've learned from zombies. Go for the brain, cut the head off. That's usually one way to execute a vampire right on the spot. Another is if you can stake a vampire, like what you've heard normally kills a vampire, putting a stake through their heart. It won't kill them, but it will put them in a state called torpor, where they will be kind of like in a sleep state. And if they're in a torpor, you can do whatever you want for them to them at that point, because there's nothing else they can do. So staking a vampire doesn't kill them, but it will definitely put them into a state where you can kill them. I'm running down like all the options. If what fire. Definitely stay away from fire, but fire definitely makes most vampires frenzy. So if fire will make most vampires run or frenzy, and the basics. Vampire 101.
He's like, so then what's the next step? He's like, the
next step is gathering information. When Michael comes back, we should be able to hopefully get a conference of all of us together and figure out what the next step is. In the meantime, we need to keep you out of public sight, because it looks like the police are trying to find you and think that you're responsible. So until we can prove otherwise, or at least provide proof to the police that you are not responsible, we need to keep you out of public eye. That way you're not taken in.
He's like, he's like, what do you, he's like, what do we even do with this life? He's like, it's not like I can go try to coach my kid's little league team now. He's like, what do we even do?
Well, your life has just become a lot more long term than you expected. So a lot of your short term goals may have just been, it's I hate to say it, but this life is both a blessing and a curse. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be, it's not going to be, just a downhill ride. It's definitely going to be something we're all going to have to work for. And I've been living this life for almost 30 years now, 20 years now. This is definitely a big change. I'll contest to that, but there are things that can be done. It's just a completely different method of thinking that you're going to have to take on most situations than you would before.
Jack. Shakes his head and he goes, so he's like, so how long have you, he said you've been doing this for 20 years. Have you always been like, he kind of gestures to the apartment, like, here, is this where it's been for you the entire time? Or he's like, he's like, what is this? He's like, is it different elsewhere? He's like, in are vamps treated different, like in New York or in LA? Or he's like, what is like?
I'll give him the rundown on my backstory, and then kind of fill him in on how the politics kind of work, and be like, it the only thing that's kind of different from city to city is where the politics lie. We are what you call anarchs, and then I'll explain to him the Camarilla and the Sabbat, and go into all of that stuff, and if that helps, any questions he have, I'm forthcoming. I'm not holding anything back at this point. So any questions he has, I'm willing to answer.
So as the night goes on, he asks a lot of minutia and history where he can, and you can definitely watch as you are talking to him that there is something that he is building up to, something that he is working towards in his head. Mm-hmm. This seems like an excellent point.
Whenever he says this seems, I'm always like, damn it.
Though not our chronicle to come to an end. We will finish up this night next week.
Thank you very much, Storyteller.
Of course.
Well, everybody in chat, it's been great hearing from you guys. I hope the 3-day weekend went well. And this will be the last point to get in any last minute bits or subs or tips or any of that fun stuff that helps to support the stream. And I will see you guys tomorrow for City of Heroes. And we 3 should hopefully be back on Thursday evening for Mothership.
Yep. So far, I don't know of any complications yet.
I know it tends to be going into the work week. Yeah, I mean sometimes even it's Thursday afternoon and they message Zach and they're like, "Sorry, we need you." So I say that with that caveat. But yeah, thank you guys for being with us. And of course, within the week, this episode will be back. Will be up on my YouTube where we have all of our back episodes going to back to 16, I think. And yeah, so feel free to check out my YouTube. There's not much there, but you can check out our past sessions. So see you all tomorrow. Have a great night and stick around for a raid. Okay? Bye, everybody.
Good night.